Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avataravarishthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. How do we observe MAHA SHIVARATRI? Yesterday we were seeing it is Shivaratri is Vrata. Festivity is not there. Austerity is there. Tapasika, life as if completely withdrawn from the world and given to God. Commonly when I move about, when devotees come, I ask them, how are your spiritual practices? They say, all right Swamiji, going on. All right Swamiji, going on. Going on. All right Swamiji. Means it is not going on properly. Then when I ask, why so? We don't know. I try to sit, do something, mind doesn't sit, lot of worries and things start coming. All when I sit for meditation or japa, all thoughts crowd my mind. And somehow I finish the japa and get up. Is it spiritual practice? Spiritual practice is where you have given yourself to God, at least for the time being when you are doing spiritual practices. World is cut off and you are giving yourself to God. A few minutes a day, after 24 hours, even if you give 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening to God, 22 hours are left in the world. That 1 hour, can't you give totally to God? No. Because the main thing is our spiritual practices to become full of vigor, strength, lively. It must be lively. It must be dynamic. Spiritual practice must be dynamic. It is like a huge engine trying to drag a long locomotive. And there is no strength and energy in your spiritual practices. Why? Because connection with the divine and relationship with the divine is not established. How do we do it? I am not aware of my relationship with God. I don't feel His presence. Otherwise, when you are doing work like two lovers in the world, their mind will be somewhere. They will be doing all duties of life absent-minded. Their whole mind is at the feet of God. When will I meet Him? When will I reach Him? This dynamism in sadhana comes in when you recognize, when you remember and experience your relationship with God. At least you must feel like a blind man feels, can't see, feels every object. At least if you feel your relationship with God, it becomes. And for that, one thing that is going to help you is constant remembrance of God. Nirantara smarane. This is the first thing we observe in MAHA SHIVARATRI. MAHA SHIVARATRI, this is a great occasion which has various parts of practices or observances. Worship is there, fasting is there, all these are there. But the important, the first thing we have to do is, today is Mahashivaratri. I will not attend to anything. I will do from today morning sunrise to tomorrow morning sunrise. My mind, let it dwell at the feet of God. Constant remembrance. This constant remembrance must become an ongoing process till the death. What they say is from cradle to grave. It is constant remembrance. Where are you? Where are you? Question starts coming. So remembrance, constant remembrance will make of your relationship with God, just of God. Relationships get established and you will remember your eternal relationship with God a little later. But unbroken thought of God in and through all activities. When people come and ask me a question or tell me something about the world or extend talk, I think, why can't I think of God? Why the time is gone? Time is going. They could have avoided this, they could have avoided that. That much time is gone. When my mother was in her last days, she used to ask, how are you? Will you take this, that and all? Why are you asking? Give me something what goes in. Don't ask 100 questions. Within that you could have done 200 japa. I used to feel wonder. You could have sung one bhajan. Go on asking the same questions every day. The time is over. Give me just sugar water. Give me this one. Daily what you are giving, give. That time, because time is most essential thing. Unbroken thought of God. How will you develop this unbroken thought of God? With effortfully. When you struggle, strive in your process to struggling to constantly remember God, unbroken thought of God, when you try to slowly, the awareness of eternity comes. And, I want to think of God. I want to think of God. I don't want even a moment to go without His presence. The continuity, it is an ongoing process, ongoing relationship, ongoing connection with God. It is ongoing connection with God. When it is ongoing, there is a sense of eternity. And I am trying to catch that eternity through which I am related to God. And then there is a self-suggestion given as the ashraya for constant remembrance. Along with constant remembrance, you may say, or as a basis of constant remembrance. identify yourself with the divine. A suggestion. Suggest yourself. You are divine. You are divine. It is true. God is sitting within. Your ego is false ego. When Chaitanya and Jada come together, ego comes. I. Replace that I. Identify that I with the divine within. Oh, that self is divine. That self is divine. When you start telling that self is divine, suggestion, self-suggestion, auto-suggestion, when you go on giving, I am divine, I am divine. Now, what is making you do all activities is not your vasanas. It is the divine within. When you slowly start identifying again and again yourself with the divine, the thought that comes in your mind, the feelings that rises in your heart, the actions you do in the world, all the three will be guided by the divine. Now self is divine. Divine is, thought is coming from the divine. Feelings are coming from the divine. Self, it was coming from self. Till now, I was there. I am thinking, I am doing was there. Now, the divine awareness, oh, divine is doing. Divine is doing. The I becomes so small and start watching. Divine is doing. Divine is doing. Ego, I was doing all this from the birth. From drinking milk till today, all these years I was doing. When I is replaced by the divine, now divine, I slowly separates, slips away and sees that divine is doing, divine is doing. Now, where is the vasana? When divine, now thoughts are divine, feelings are divine, because everything is associated with divine. Because self is linked to the divine. Self is identified with the divine. We identify ourselves to be so and so. With the upadhis, we identify ourselves. I am a sannyasi. One of the upadhis, new upadhi, to replace all old upadhis. I am so and so, I am householder, I am this, I am that, I am brahmachari. All these identifications are with the upadhis. I am divine. He is not with any upadhi. See, when you identify upadhi, there are samskaras and vasanas you have acquired. As a sannyasi, you have acquired so many vasanas. As a brahmachari, you have acquired so many vasanas. And those vasanas of a sannyasi will start working through you. I have to do this, I have to do, I have to do, I should not tell lie, this, that, so many things. I should see divine everywhere. The self is remaining a sannyasi. Self is remaining a brahmachari. Self is remaining a householder. Where is divinity? Now divine replacement makes with remembrance. This is the first thing. It is a strong footing for constant remembrance. You are whom you are thinking. You are thinking of divine, of God, the divinity itself, unbroken thought of divine, constant remembrance of divine, constant remembrance of God. Now you are seeing within and without the same divine. Oh, divine is seeing divine, interacting with divine. All your actions, thoughts are divine now. How now a kind of, when the vasanas are not taking over, when everything is getting divinized, where does the remembrance take you? To purification. Remembrance, constant remembrance will take you to purification. It purifies you. Then divinizes you, second. Third is, it leads you to meditation, sahaja yoga. Natural. You are not sitting and doing meditation. Everywhere, everything is becoming a constant awareness of divine. What you would have done sitting and turning your back on the world is happening in natural way. Constant remembrance of God. It takes you to this stage of meditation, then to oneness with, ultimately oneness with God. But before that, these stages you pass through, where vasanas start remaining slowly, silently, without acting. It has no place to act. It is there, it cannot act because divine is there. So when divine is there and vasanas do not act, without water and food, they will slowly fade away. And your constant remembrance is identifying your identity with the divine. You are catching the thread now. You are catching the thread. I belong to God. I belong to God. On other side, you will be extremely grateful to God. Thanksgiving. One side Vasanakshaya is taking place. One side your evolution is taking place towards the eternal relationship with God. You are trying to meet your eternal companion. Vasanakshaya is, and then divinization is taking place. Whole picture is changing now of yours. Out of gratitude for God, His remembrance becomes more and more powerful. Your hopes, your love go on increasing. It is enhancement. It is renewal of your life, renewal of your relationship. It is intensification of your divinity. It is manifesting slowly, externally, at all levels. So, slowly you are moving towards eternity. Your love for God also is slowly getting generated. Love doesn't come so easily. Through remembrance, constant remembrance will give you love, and love generates constant remembrance. Both are, if somebody loves someone, he'll be thinking only of that person at all times. Is the object of love. Love forces you to remember, and conversely, constant remembrance slowly makes you love God. They are interrelated, opposite and reverse of the same coin. So you are trying to, how it is taking you, see. Once you start loving God, and you will see constant remembrance is coming, supported already by earlier. Now love reinforces that remembrance. It wants to meet God. It wants to meet. This side, love generates longing for God. There it was doing Vasanakshaya, gratitude to God, and giving yourself more and more to God. more and more relationship was getting established, relationship, sambandha. From parichaya, you are going to the sambandha. Now, sambandha is becoming more and more intensified and is generating love. Do you understand? This love is the moment you start loving God, what happens is you feel that much closeness and constant remembrance, unbroken remembrance start coming. All these years, even with so much of efforts, unbroken thought of God was not there. With love getting reinforced, your thought becomes constant, unbroken constancy. You will be doing all activities. Your actions will be free from desire for result. I don't want anything, I do. I will do. Any work, any duty, with great joy he'll be doing. Ashrama cleaning, this, that and all, when you see people doing out of their own interest, unasked, untold. What is making them do? Is that divine intuition. So, all works they will do without seeking results, without any expectations, without demands. It wants to do because of the constant remembrance and love. It is something like pure karma yoga, where the phalapeksha is not there. And here you see, when all these factors come together, constant remembrance, and constant remembrance is there, where are you? You are on the lap of God, ready for becoming one with Him. So, how the constant remembrance, unbroken remembrance, which we are trying to put the seed and water every day, that continuation of ongoing relationship is most essential. Yeah, Shivaratri day I didn't left. No, Dvitiya Vigna should not happen. Till next Shivaratri, it must continue. And next Shivaratri, with renewal, with more and more strength. So, that is why in between, that you will not forget, Manti Shivaratri is there. And daily Shivaratri is there. Daily Ratri is Shivaratri. Om Namah Shivaya. So, you are on the lap of God. You are ready for union with God, becoming one with God, like river merging in the ocean. You merge in God. You want to keep separate, as you are merging, you enter such a part of God, ocean, that it is ice bound. Then you will become ice. If it is cold, the river which goes immediately becomes ice. You will have your individuality separately, with being one with God, to experience that oneness with God. So this from constant remembrance purifies you, divinizes you, makes meditation possible, builds up the relationship, awakens the love, pure love, and then makes you unite with God ultimately. So this first discipline that we follow on Shivaratri, first observance, is constant remembrance of God. Do you understand? I will not expand this. Sometime other we have to take exclusively Constant remembrance. How many times I tell a day what I have to do? Constant remembrance. Don't waste time in asking questions again and again. What should I do? What should I do? Remember God. Force. Put all efforts to not to forget God. We have passed through all these stages forcefully. I make you remember what I have told about my going to college. Every morning I will take the vow, I will not forget God today. I will attend to all classes, move with friends, but I will not forget. When I come and see at night, most of the time I was not remembering God at all. Somewhere, once in 2 hours, 3 hours, I might have remembered once for a few seconds or few minutes. Again broken. Slowly the frequency goes on increasing. Formerly, first when we take vow and go to the college, the moment we see somebody, totally forgotten God. Where is God? Then you that frequency. Now and then you will remember. Suppose you are remembering once in 2 hours. Oh, how did I forget? Again in the classroom. Then attending to class, you will forget again. From 2 hours once remembering, it will come to 45 minutes. Each bell will remind you. It will be like knell, death knell. Each bell will be. Somebody dies in the church, they ring the bell. It is called death knell. So it is frightening. Somebody is dead. They will slowly try to get the news. Who is dead? Not I. Like that, you will be that feeling. Bell means, oh, I have forgotten God. Any bell, anywhere, any sound. Oh, I have forgotten God. So, like that, slowly, after a few years, you will have constant remembrance. It's a practice. It's a sacrifice. It is great thing you achieve in the highest thing a person can achieve in this world is unbroken thought of God. All your spiritual practices become enlivened and dynamic. Whatever spiritual practice you do, japa you are doing, this you are doing, that one, whatever spiritual practice, even service, it becomes so dynamic and you are unstained by your thoughts, feelings and actions. So this is the constant remembrance of God. Nirantara smarana is the first thing you observe and ongoing connection you will continue forever. It is something like, I will not forget God hereafter. I will do all things. I will move about with friends, relatives. I do all my duties of my life. But I will not forget God. Means you are slowly, your self is replacing. The lower self is dissolving. Higher self is awakening. On Shivaratri day, higher self, highest self we saw is Shiva. The pure individual consciousness, the Vyashti Chaitanya is Shiva within you. Between your normal I and I as the Shiva, there is this higher self which releases you from the world and world things and makes you unite with God. This is the higher self awakening you have to achieve on Shivaratri day through constant remembrance. Make it a point again and again to remind you of that constant remembrance. I have to remember, prepare well for the Shivaratri. And that will be the beginning of your new life, renewal of life. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.